So the Pittsburgh Penguins, once again for the second year in a row, vanquish the President's Trophy winners, Washington Capitals, on the road in 7 games, 2-0, and they win the series 4-3 and move on to face the surprise Ottawa Senators, or as I like to call them, Erik Karlsson and his merry men, starting on Saturday in Pittsburgh. And let me tell you, based on the way that I saw the team play Game 6, I did not think that we would win Game 7. I knew we wouldn't play that badly again, but based on the way the series had gone and how much Pittsburgh had been outplayed, I just didn't think there was anything that Sullivan could do to fix that defense, because without Letang, it was just not good. I thought the only thing he could do is put in Mark Streit instead, which I don't know why he hasn't done, especially to help the Penguins' power play, which has been bad. But other than that, I didn't think there was much he could do, because Letang is one of the top 5 players in the entire world at his position, and very few people can do what he does, aka Erik Karlsson. If the Senators did not have Erik Karlsson, they wouldn't have won 2 rounds. So it's amazing the Penguins even won 2 rounds without Letang in the lineup, because he is the Penguins' version of Erik Karlsson, essentially. And, yes, he's not quite as good as Karlsson, but he's in that same ilk. He's more physical, and who knows, if he would have stayed healthy throughout his career, I can definitely see him challenging Erik Karlsson for those numbers. It's just unfortunate that he's injured yet again, as is every year. But I don't know what Sullivan did at practice, but it was very whiteboard heavy. He went back to basics, went back to the breakout, and it worked. That was the best game the Penguins played all playoffs. That looked like the Penguins team from the 2016 Stanley Cup run that just dominated teams and just decimated them. Without Letang, the Penguins were somehow able to get the puck up ice with their D. They noticed that Washington was very aggressive on the boards, so they went away from the boards and they started going up the middle of the ice. Dumoulin had one of the best games I've seen him play in a long time. He was able to generate a lot. Ruderall was able to generate a lot. And those are not the fastest on foot. They're not the fastest guys, but they were able to generate plays and make things happen. And their pinches were well timed, unlike the game before. Ian Cole's pinch is the whole reason why the first goal was able to go in. And that was a beautiful goal. Sweet sauce by Jake Guentzel, who now has a Penguins rookie record for points in the playoffs with 14 in 12 games. Absolutely insane. But Mike Sullivan deserves a lot of credit for this win, because as great as Marc-Andre Fleury was, and he was with 29 saves, Sullivan deserves a lot of credit. He switched up the defense pairings. I thought Schultz and Mata looked like a pretty solid pairing. Mata had some shaky moments, but I like that pairing. Dumoulin and Hainsey I was not liking as a pairing, but he changed. In one game, he totally changed their system. They clogged up the neutral zone a lot more than they did last year. And they were, instead of trying to go for the boards, which Washington was cutting off, they were going up the middle and going up the neutral zone, which is a lot like how they won last season and won the cup. But it's amazing that they did go up the boards a lot last season too, but they had to adjust because they didn't have Letang, and Letang can carry the puck from one on the ice to the other, right, and go up the boards. But they had to clog it up, play a bit more defensive style, but they were still aggressive on the forecheck, and they had the trap, which they don't usually have, but he was able to adjust one game and make them play that much better. It was night and day from Game 6 and 7. It was absolutely incredible. What a performance by the Penguins. No Daly, no Hagelin, who's a surprise scratch. He must not be fully 100% because he's come back in the series and not had too much of an impact. And I thought that'd be a huge loss because he's the Penguins' fastest player, but he's been with a foot injury for so long. I don't think he's fully 100%. No Hagelin, no Daly, no Letang. Murray's now back in the net, backing up, but he's not starting. And the Penguins have that performance. It was absolutely incredible. They did get outshot 29-28 overall. Again, they started off slow, but they weathered the storm early this time, and they were able to come back hard. And they actually outshot the Capitals in periods 1 and periods 3. Period 3, they just allowed 6 shots a net. Now, that all has a lot to do with how the Capitals played. Their effort just wasn't good enough. But they didn't let Washington get those really good chances that they had in the first two periods. Because second period, Pittsburgh definitely sat back on their heels a bit more, and Fleury had to make some outstanding saves, including that one on Alex Ovechkin with the shaft of a stick. If that puck goes in, it's a whole different game, and maybe it's a Capitals win. And we're not sitting here talking about why Alexander Ovechkin and company can't get them done again. I mean, that was an incredible shot that Fleury just got. And that's the best goal scorer of all time who has the puck on your stick, and you have the presence of mind to make that save. Pretty impressive stuff that he was able to save that. But again, that's what hockey is. It's a game of inches. Everything is so close. If Nicholas Backstrom had not hit the post on that chance earlier, we could be sitting here talking about a different game. It could be Capitals facing the Ottawa right now. Fleury was out of position. Backstrom hit the post. It was unfortunate. If they did not hit the post on the power play, it's not like Washington didn't have chances. They had chances in the first and second. They missed a lot of nets, though. They hit a lot of posts. It just wasn't going in. And then the third period, it was more, I think, what the Penguins were doing, just their suffocating forecheck. But at the same time, it's like the Capitals were getting frustrated. Their frustration was showing because they couldn't get anything done. They were taking penalties. They just didn't look like themselves. Holtby was the only reason why they had a chance. He was great in that third period. He was great in the game overall. I did not like that Hornquist goal, though. That was definitely a goal he should have had. But it was kind of a fluke goal at the same time. No chance in the first goal. Ovechkin did mess up on that play, but that's a 50-50 puck. It could have gone either way. If he got it a bit harder, it could have gone out and he could have gotten a break the other way. He didn't get it hard enough. Pittsburgh kept it in. Hornquist scored a goal. And he's going to be blamed for that. You know he's going to wear the goat ears on this one. But this game is not solely on Alexander Ovechkin. He was only the 7th most played forward that game. That's not okay. He is your face of your franchise. He should be playing in a Game 7 do-or-die situation, upwards of 20 minutes. He only played 19 minutes when you had guys like TJ Oshie playing 22 minutes, Justin Williams playing 22, who I didn't notice Mr. Game 7 at all, by the way. Upstaged by Mr. Elimination and Brian Rust and Matt Cullen, who's now 6-0 in Game 7s. But Ovechkin has to play more. You have to give a player of that caliber more of an opportunity. It just wasn't good enough job by Barry Trotz. He was outcoached by Sullivan in this game. And he was outcoached by Sullivan in the whole series, which is kind of sad because he's more experienced. And the only reason why the Capitals, and yes, the Capitals probably deserved a better fate. They severely outplayed Pittsburgh for most of the series. Fleury had to steal at least one win, probably 2 wins there. Probably 2 wins because the 6-2 win, and he didn't really steal that. But you say the other 2 games, Fleury definitely had to steal. Pittsburgh was not good, but Barry Trotz's decision to put Ovechkin on the third line just was not smart. You putting him on with guys Tom Wilson and Lars Eller, guys who can't score goals. It didn't make any sense. Burakovsky was fantastic and he's moved up to the top line. He really had a coming out party, but and Mike Sullivan made some lineup changes that didn't work in the end. But ultimately, it was the adjustments that Sullivan did make that did work. And this is the difference between him and Dan Bosma. Dan Bosma's biggest critique for years is that failure to make adjustments. Failure to do anything that was wrong. This is what happened when they played the Rangers in 2014 and they had the 3-1 series lead and they lost. So Dan Bosma stuck with status quo, stuck with the same system, the same game plan, and failed to fix it. Sullivan saw what was wrong, fixed it right away. The Penguins responded, were outstanding, and are now heading to the conference final. That is the mark of a true coach. Job well done by Mike Sullivan. Job well done by everyone. Crosby was a lot better in this game. I thought he looked off in Game 6, probably because he's a little bit concussed, but he was a lot more engaged, a lot better in Game 7. Malkin had his chances. Kessel has some sick chances. He just couldn't bury one. I thought the implementation of Carter Rowney really worked. I thought his speed, his aggressiveness on the forecheck really gave the Penguins life, especially when they're struggling early on. He had a heck of a game. And I had really liked Tom Kuhnhackl in the series. I thought he'd had a great last 2 games. He was all over the place making plays happen for a fourth-line guy. But he does not have the speed that Rowney has, and I think that was a turning point. Rowney just has more speed than Kuhnhackl, as much as I do like him. And he is good on the penalty kill, which is something the Penguins need to work on. But I like that adjustment. Having been there, Scott Wilson's kind of a meh. I mean, him and Kunak are kind of interchangeable, but that line is definitely faster, and you have Rowney and Cullen on there. And then if Hagelin comes back, then you have Hagelin on there. So they definitely outpowered Washington from that standpoint on, with their speed. I also and Matt Murray. Now the question is, who starts in net against Ottawa? I mean, you have the guy who's gotten you this far in Fleury, but you just know that he can't keep up the save percentage. He's not going to maintain a .930 save percentage. It's not possible. He's not this good of a goalie. The Penguins are not going to continue to shoot like over 9% or 10%. They have a pretty high shooting percentage, however high they're shooting. They're not going to continue to shoot this high, and his save percentage is not going to be this high. So their PDO is very high right now, meaning they have a lot of luck, and they have had a lot of luck in this playoff run, except for that one game. So, Fleury's going to come down to earth, and their shots are probably going to come down to earth. So I think that, what I would do is I'd probably start Fleury game one, because it's pretty hard not to start him after that performance. And I would go from there. But I definitely don't think that this is going to last with Fleury. I expect him to regress to his normal average soon. And when that happens, I definitely think that we'll see Matt Murray, and he'll probably run with it because, Craig Anderson's probably going to be very good. He's had a good playoff so far for Ottawa, and I just don't know if Fleury can match that consistently. But maybe Anderson will be bad. I mean, Fleury has outplayed the previous two goalies, but I don't know. I don't see Fleury playing that well, and now that Murray's back, I think that that little doubts are creeping up in his mind because he always seems to play better when he's the guy, when there's no one behind him. And now that Murray's back, there might be some doubt, shadow of doubt creeping into his head. There might be that confidence that he lacks, and that could be the opportunity for Murray. It's kind of an interesting role reversal from last season when the roles were flipped around and Murray became the starter. But fact of the matter is, this is Fleury's last playoff run in Pittsburgh, and, if he's a guy that's in net when they win the cup again, it's a pretty nice way to go out. I prefer Matt Murray. I don't really care that Fleury. I'm not really that a big fan of Fleury like everyone else. He seems like a good dude, but it would be cool to see him go out with a cup run, I guess, let's say. But at the same time, every time he goes in the net in playoffs, I'm absolutely terrified. So I would not be surprised if we see Matt Murray in the net at some point pretty soon. That being said, Murray's last season in Pittsburgh, Jason Broderell, who is the associate GM of Pittsburgh Penguins, was named the Buffalo Sabres GM today, which I thought was odd because Pittsburgh's in the middle of a playoff run, so I don't know how they can name him GM right now. That was kind of weird. I know he's a GM and not a coach, but I thought that was a little bit strange. I mean, it's kind of distracting for the team, but anyways, he's gone. He's in Buffalo already, so wish him all the best. I'm a little bit bitter about this because he was supposed to be the guy after Jimmy R, and Jimmy R was supposed to be here for a couple years, 3 or 4 years, so he's coming up to that time, and he was going to step down, and Broderell's going to take over. And now we don't know Broderell's record. We know that he's supposed to be very good. He's developed Wilkes-Barre. He was helped find players like Connor Sheary, signed him to Wilkes-Barre. Helped find players like Carter Rowney. So he knows talent. He does know development, and so he was very good with that and keeping Wilkes-Barre competitive. He was one who went out and hired Mike Sullivan, hired Clark Donatelli, and look at how well that's turned out. So while we don't know that he's good, all aspects point to him being kind of that new wave of thinking in the mold of a Kyle Dubas or a Patrice Bridge or whoever, Julian Brisebois in Tampa Bay, that, or in the mold of a John Chaika in Arizona, that type of thinker. And I'm a little bit bitter that the Penguins gave permission and let him go to Buffalo. But at least he's not in a divisional rival. But it's a little bit frustrating. I guess it was going to happen sooner rather than later, but I wish that Pittsburgh would have, I guess, given him a GM role sooner. Because, I mean, Jimmy R has been great, but he's not going to be there forever. And then you have a guy waiting in the wings already, and you don't really have anyone else now that can replace him. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But relating to Fleury, Buffalo does not have a goalie signed for next year. Leonard's an RFA, and the backup is an UFA. So I'm thinking maybe there could be some sort of Fleury-Broderell thing going on because we know Fleury's going to be traded. We know that Murray's going to be the one that's protected. Fleury has to be protected based on the rules. So he's probably going to be the one that's traded before the expansion draft happens. And I would not be surprised if Buffalo is one of those destinations. Now, there's a familiarity there. And Broderell will also probably dip into the Penguins' pool for coaches because that's the organization he knows best. He's been there for 10 years. So I would not be surprised if he takes that Pittsburgh approach, takes Fleury, takes a lot of guys with him, and makes Buffalo good, which is a little bit frustrating. But that would be top of my list for Fleury destinations right now. And, they could definitely use a veteran goalie because as good as Leonard's been, they can definitely have that veteran presence for such a young team. And he's a great team guy, and I think that he'd really get along with guys like Eichel and O'Reilly and all those players. So anyways, Ottawa, Pittsburgh next round should be fantastic series. Ottawa has Erik Karlsson, who has and Pittsburgh doesn't have their elite defenseman, so they definitely have the advantage there. But Pittsburgh neutralizes him better than any other team in the league, according to TSN. And Crosby loves playing Ottawa. He lights them up. He has most points against them than any other team in the playoffs. So I don't think that it'll be an easy series. I mean, Ottawa has a chance, but I think Pittsburgh will still win, even with their decimated defense. I'm not a big fan of Ottawa. I don't have a lot of faith in that team, and Pittsburgh scores a lot of goals, and they've shown they can win close games as well. So everyone's saying Ottawa's in favor if it's close game. No, I don't think so. Just because of the Karlsson and Anderson factor, I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6, but I really feel like maybe it's Pittsburgh in 5. But I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6. I'm going to be a bit generous. And the other series, Nashville and Anaheim, fantastic series. Thank you for beating Edmonton, Anaheim. That one, I'm going to say Nashville in 7. I think Nashville's just too good. Gibson's been a little bit inconsistent this season. So, actually, yeah, I'm going to say Nashville. He's been a bit inconsistent in playoffs, and I really love the Nashville team. Rene's really stood on his head. So I'm going to say Nashville in 7 for that one. Or 6. I don't know. 6 or 7. So that's all I have for this video. Please like it if you like. Subscribe if you really like it. Share it with all your friends. Tell everyone. And I'll see you after Saturday when the first game is. All right. 7:15 in Pittsburgh. Let's go Penguins.